501. Information System Strategy. Enterprise architecture brands and subdivides into 4 other types of architecture, namely business architecture, technology architecture, application architecture, and what else? A. System architecture. B. Software architecture. C. Data architecture. Or D. Bus architecture. So which one of these 4 is the final type of architecture? First of all, we will talk about what is enterprise architecture. Enterprise architecture is an overarching approach in analyzing and modeling a given corporation as a whole, along with its system, with the 4 categories of classification, which is the architecture. Enterprise architecture proceeds by modeling what is the current situation of a corporation and its future goal. So it's talking about the current situation and the future. By comparing the two, it enables one to model the transition and facilitate the change. Let's have a look at a very simple example of a pizza pickup ordering. The current situation, or the as-is model, shows the customer calling in the order first, the employee writing down the order, proceeding with the order, and putting the order into the computer, and employee checking out the customer. The future model, or the to-be model, incorporates a customer calling in by the phone, but also accommodates for a customer ordering online. This shows the difference between the current model and the future model. Now that we have this node instead of the first instance, the second node is then the order to be entered into the system and the chef seeing the order onto the screen, and ultimately the employee checking out the customer. Now the end goal is the same, but the beginning is different, and so you can see very clearly the difference between the current model and the future model. And this will help to transition and facilitate the change. Now we can take a look at each of the classifications of enterprise architecture. Firstly, we have the business architecture. It represents the architectural structure of a business, the content of the business flow, etc., in a collaborate, streamlined fashion. The deliverables are work manual, function structural chart, data flow diagram, and flow chart, etc. Here is an example of a data flow diagram. You have a student applying to university through a progress report. There is an application, an approval stage in which the student may be informed or denied. And then the next stage is registration, in which the student can either accept or the student information goes into the student database. And so this is an example of a data flow diagram. The second classification is data architecture. It concerns itself with the content of information for different businesses and systems and how the information are all linked to each other. The deliverables are table defining the data, diagrams mapping the information system, diagrams mapping the relationship between the concerned entity, etc. And so we have an example of a class diagram here where a student and the relationship between a student and a professor is shown with regards to person information and address. The third type of classification is application architecture. Application architecture is a business structure that shows the best form of the information system for a particular business. That is, the centralized system or the dispersed system. The deliverables are information system configuration diagram, information system functional configuration diagram, etc. Here is a very simple diagram, which is an example of an information system configuration diagram. The final type of classification we have is the technology architecture. Technology architecture is a systemized technique that is used during the system building stage. It deals with the technological prerequisites constituting the system as well as issues such as the security infrastructure. The deliverables are diagrams mapping the hardwares, softwares, and network. So here we have a diagram, and it's an example mapping the whole network. So we have the flow from the internet down to the individual web servers, email servers, and database servers, etc. So we see that there are 4 types of architecture. Firstly, we met the business architecture. Secondly, we saw the data architecture. Thirdly, we saw application architecture. And lastly, we saw technology architecture. So, to answer the question, the only one which was not listed in the question was data. This corresponds to option C in the question, which is data. And that is the correct answer. So the answer is C.